ambassador, someone who cares passionately about the future of our planet, and a proud member of the global citizen movement, working together across ages, across geographies, across cultures and ethnicities to combat climate change. At this crucial time in our planet's history, young people are showing that we are unstoppable in mobilizing for climate action. It is we who will live with the consequences of necessary action to combat climate change, if not taken. But like the scientists who have spoken today, our voices are not yet heard enough. I commend the scientific experts who spend their lives conducting research so that we can know the facts about the forest and how critical they are to the survival of this planet. From my work at the United Nations, speaking with stakeholders in many different countries globally in an effort to bring climate knowledge to decision makers, I know that right now, in this moment, science is being outpaced by misinformation and disinformation. The people with data, the research, the facts, they are here. So why aren't the policymakers listening? I have 3 suggestions for what needs to change for the science and policy communities to jointly work together to deliver the changes we need to address the triple planetary crisis that we're all facing for a healthy planet and for healthy people. First and foremost, we need to share and transfer climate knowledge more effectively. We must show that science is for everyone, not just for the scientist. We need to make it easily understandable. This is why films like Don't Look Up, that challenge people to think about why certain decisions about climate are being made, are so important. Because those on the other side are telling their stories too, on social media, through short stories, and they're using very persuasive words. Policymakers have a responsibility in the communication effort to decode science-based policy, to make it transparent, understandable, actionable, and accessible. If scientists are understood by policymakers, who then make policy that is understood by those responsible to implement it, who can then be held accountable, all parts of the supply chain will effectively work together to protect the forests. Number 2, we need to use technology wisely. We all know that technology is power. The data revolution, the advanced analytics, the AI, they've helped scientists better understand the impacts of forests in fighting climate change. The use of geomapping and drones is helping to target land reforestation. But these green technological advances also make it more feasible for policymakers and the public to imagine a world with fewer and fewer forests. Technology has been used to divert attention away from facts, such as that to save and protect trees logging simply needs to be reduced. If we don't start backing nature, we will be in bigger trouble. $10 trillion in global GDP could be lost by the year 2050 if ecosystem services continue to decline. We need to shift our thinking away from just technology to combination and instead a focus on nature itself. Then nature itself is a solution. Reduce tree harvesting, support natural regeneration processes, and avoid intensive practices such as soil cultivation and the use of herbicides and pesticides. These are actions we can take now, all based on science. Number 3, we need to improve the process for how science informs policy so that we see science-informed shifts much more rapidly. At times, I agree, the road between science and policy is not a straight line. Decisions can be influenced by vested interest. Solutions can be far more political and economic than scientific. For the health of the planet, this has to change. The responsibility belongs to policymakers and politicians to work based on science. As an activist, I want everyone to know, I am not fooled. Many climatologists, behavioral scientists, and climate activists like me, who are on the front line of the climate crisis, believe that Netflix and Adam McKay's production, Don't Look Up, offers an important lesson on how to take a new approach to the current crisis that will hopefully lead to more and more effective action. This movie is an example of how the film industry can use its power to change the narrative towards action. The message of the film being told on the big screen has reached millions of people across the world who would never watch speeches at COP27 or listen to us here at the European Parliament. That's an example of how we all have to use our mediums to speak. Following the discussions that have taken place today, 3 panels, now the question arises. How will we follow the movie's narrative to investigate the several claims affecting forest policy in this trial? How do we see the parallels between EU policymaking and the movie? The movie and our reality seems to be very much the same. There was a time to change track, but people chose not to do so. Just as in the clips that we played today, there were parties pretending that there is some other science. Politicians always say, let's ask our scientist. But what scientists are they speaking to? Or does it often end up like, in a movie, the scientist is referred to as the crazy lady? Scientists have a role, politicians have a role, activists have a role. Everyone can act, but that's not the takeaway. The takeaway that there is real science. And if we do not decisively follow science, we are lost in false solutions. And while we keep it light, we are losing the planet. Many around the world want young activists like me thinking that right things are being done because industry and politicians with vested interest all massage me to think that solutions have been found. But where are these solutions in state or national level policy? The biggest threat to our planet is not the fact that EU politicians believe that someone else is going to come do their job for them or to come save the planet. They're acting and saving it, but might be doing it with solutions that are not science-based. Like in the movie, they consult corporations and they act in their own interest, which is not what the planet needs. When I'm told, don't look up, I can't just settle for that. I ask you, what will you do to protect forests? What will you do to fight climate change? Thank you.